Okay. All right. So we have Keena here. She is CEO of Revolt out of West Virginia. I appreciate you taking the time with us today. So I just first met you today. I've saw you on Facebook. We've connected just for being in the solar industry, and
Yeah,
you sent me an email after I was mentioning to everybody that we wanted more people on the podcast slash YouTube, and your email really caught my attention. You're very professional. It seems like
thanks.
from what I've heard so far, you really have a lot of experience in the construction side of things, which is a little bit different from what we've had on the show so far.
Mhm.
So I really wanted to get you on and kind of make an introduction and see where we can kind of take it from there. But will you tell everybody a little bit more about your background and what Revolt is all about, and also the merger that you just had?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me on here, Glenn. So my background is so I'm from the Appalachian coal fields. Came to West Virginia 6 years ago. Um, and my background is in economic transition for creating new energy jobs in traditional coal communities where we've lost so many jobs. So that was really the reason that I sought out learning solar. The first position I held was as a project manager for a pretty successful residential solar cells company. And then in 2019, I co-founded Revolt Energy, because I really, really wanted to be able to pursue larger projects. And last year, we were acquired by Nitro Construction Services, which is one of the largest contractors, if not the largest contractor in the state of West Virginia. We are members of the IBEW. I think Nitro Construction was already the largest vendor for the IBEW in West Virginia. So all of our installers are union employees, and we're part of a much, much larger organization now that has experience executing installations as large as 2.8 megawatts. So it was really a game changer for moving into the commercial and industrial sector, but we still have a strong residential arm.
Okay, awesome. So when we were talking before, you were saying that you got acquired by this company. What led up to the acquisition? Like, how did that all come about for you?
Well, we were competing for a contract. We provided them a proposal for a 500 kilowatt system on their campus in Nitro, West Virginia. Our offices at the time were also in Nitro, West Virginia, and we were members of the IBEW, and they wanted union installers. So we competed against another solar company, another much larger solar company actually, for the contract. And then our team, our kind of tiny team, won this $1 million contract for maybe the second largest commercial installation in the state at the time. And then we just executed it as flawlessly as we could. So contract to commissioning with 2 points of interconnection and 5 guys was 6 months. And during that 6 months, we were totally acquired.
Yeah, and for those that don't understand the commercial side, I mean, to do it that fast and to be able to, it sounds like, was that like one of your first deals you ever did too with commercial, or did you guys do some before that?
We hadn't done anything over 100 kilowatts commercially.
Okay, so that was like your proving ground.
We hadn't, yeah. So in the 2 to 3, we hadn't done anything in the 2 to 300 range, no. But I mean, all level 2 I had managed level 2 interconnection projects before. I had a lot of experience doing that. So I managed those 2 projects and we got them commissioned. I think the first one was commissioned within 4 months of contract, 3 months of contract. But we showed them how solar can make power and money. I showed them how SRECs work. And yeah, so it's been a really great investment. It was enough of a impressive feat to cause them to want to invest, multiple millions of dollars in acquiring our company to run a solar division.
Wow, that's awesome. Congratulations.
Thanks.
So you are in, you said West Virginia, Virginia, Ohio, and what was the other state that you guys are like, you can do residential in?
Kentucky.
Kentucky. And then you said for commercial, you guys have a larger footprint where you guys can service more states than
That's
that.
correct. Yeah.
Okay. And it's kind of like a case by case, or what determines on which states you'll go into and what states you won't go into?
The last time I looked at the map of our footprint, it was mostly the entire eastern half of the US. Going farther than that would probably be cost prohibitive, and we wouldn't be able to be competitive. We just opened a branch in Battle Creek, Michigan. When I say we, it's Nitro Construction Services, which is formerly Nitro Electric. So commercially, we have a base in Michigan, and are licensed electrically and licensed to install solar in eastern half of the US.
Okay, so it's just location as of right now. And you said that you guys work a lot with the SRECs, renewable energy credits. Is that for both residential and commercial in the areas that you're servicing, or what are you seeing on that?
So West Virginia doesn't have a market. I work with SRECs, and on a commercial level, I do have contact a friend of mine that I send residential customers to get signed up to broker and trade their SRECs. But I'm a registered broker and aggregator on the PJM grid as well. So I manage the portfolio for Nitro. And we've just launched an in-house PPA program so that we can finance small commercial projects. And so we will be building our portfolio of assets by owning and self-financing some small commercial projects.
Okay, so you'd use like your own funds to finance it, and then they would pay you monthly for the power that's produced by it. Okay, and then you would get the tax credits, you would get the incentives, any sort of SREC that's in those areas?
Yes,
okay.
For as long as the term of the contract.
Okay,
Yeah.
and is there room for people that are making really good money in the solar industry? Because obviously a lot of people that watch this, they're owners of companies. Is there opportunity for investors to?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, perfect. Well, no, we'll talk more about that in the future. Obviously, I'm big into that sort of making your money work for you as much as you can.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just crunching the numbers on a commercial project I got just the other day, and it's for a municipality, so they can't take advantage of the tax credit. And I thought, if we had an investor for $15,000, I think I can turn it into 48 in year one.
Wow, that's crazy.
So it is. It really is. It really is. Solar is an energy industry, but it's also a finance industry.
Right. Yeah, you can make your money, make money, and if you can show these investors that panels really produce power, and unless the sun goes away, it's going to keep producing power. The numbers sense there. So we're in that tipping point. What the percentage of saturation or the amount of people have solar in the markets that you're in? Like, is there some that's more saturated than others as far as total amount?
We've been mostly targeting residential customers in West Virginia strategically for the past year since acquisition. I'm sure you can imagine it's a whole organizational upheaval. We had to regroup and recalibrate, and we've been trying to stay in our own backyard. But as far as Eastern Kentucky, Southwest Virginia, Southern West Virginia, no, there's no market saturation as far as competition. The amount of solar on the grid Virginia has the most of all these 4 states. I didn't include Ohio. I think that Ohio probably has a lot more solar. Virginia has the most. But I think the portion of the grid that's powered by solar in West Virginia, I think is less than 1%.
You said 1%?
Less than 1%, maybe less than half of the
Okay.
percent.
So yeah, very, very fresh market. When I've been in 11 different states personally doing solar, and it definitely makes a difference of how people perceive it depending on where you're at in the country. Because like when I was in California, when 17% of people already have it, it's a lot different conversation than the places where I went, where like Florida is very new for the most part. Like it is probably more saturated
It is?
than what you have, but it's fairly new compared to some of the states I've been in. So it's still a newer conversation. And when I first started in solar in Massachusetts back in 2014, it was fairly new then at that time. Like not a whole lot of people had it. So it was a new concept. So it's
Yeah.
definitely taking off.
Yeah. So the thing that's been instrumental for us is being so solid with our word, like living up to setting customer expectations, trying to exceed those expectations, and building a brand that's known for quality and execution, delivering results and delivering exactly what we promise. And in West Virginia, it really does take that to sell solar, because and that's really almost all it takes. We are overwhelmed with referral leads. I think our direct referrals are maybe 80%.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's huge.
I had to stop buying leads.
So you're doing something right because you're getting more and more referrals. Do you train on how to get more referrals, or is this happening organically?
Organically. Appalachia is a place where I think it's safe to say that traditionally people have been skeptical of outsiders,
Right.
because I mean, I'm sure you've seen, like, I don't know if you've seen like Harlan County, USA, and like having the war on poverty, and then the perception of Appalachia when we've welcomed historically, when people from outside have come in and portrayed what it's like to actually live in Appalachia, the perception hasn't always been accurate or positive. So I think there is a bit of an attitude of West Virginians and Central Appalachians, just in general, are people who are very self-reliant, just very independent. They hate being dependent on the utility for the power.
Okay. So do you feel like that will help you if you know how to get in there? That's kind of like you're in almost because you're providing a solution for their problem.
I think my in is that I'm from here.
Right.
I think that's what has been instrumental to us. And then, people talk to their neighbors like, yes, my solar system does exactly what I've said. This is my power bill. My high school science teacher has bought 2 systems from us, actually, one for her mother. And, she posts her electric bill all the time. So it's really word of mouth. That's what has helped us build a reputation here.
Okay, that's awesome. That's really good to hear. Being in the industry, that's like one of the main things that people that are in the sales side want to have is good referrals. But a lot of times they find that there's so many things that are out of their personal hands. Like for me, when I went and sold for other installers, I've probably sold for 20 different installers in 11 different states. And there's only so much stuff that is in my hands. A lot of it's out of my hands, and we really depend on the quality of install, the customer service, the support that they give us. So if you don't have that, it's much harder to get referrals.
Right. And I've lived through, and actually is the reason I left the company that I left when I started, co-founded Revolt. I've seen the growth on an EPC side happen too fast, like grow over their own feet. And I mean, just in project management alone, there's so much training that needs to take place. And if the systems aren't in place, if the installers don't know what they're doing, if they haven't been properly trained, so many things can go wrong. It can go so very wrong. Yes. So I think that it's really important that sales organizations or solar sales people who know how to set customer expectations and are also really dedicated to the quality of what they're saying and the quality of their word, partner with installers who know how to make the installations happen. I know at least of a couple of occasions where I've been contacted by a lawyer friend of mine or something who will say, I have this client, and it's, for example, in Virginia, and she had an installation through this company, and the panels have been on her roof for a really long time, and nothing's happening. And she's got this bill, and I think that maybe there are solar cells are happening before the installer is even chosen. And then the installer may or may not be licensed. So I think things like this are great. The thing that you're doing, pulling together leaders in the industry who can connect, is really invaluable.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I've noticed just from, not ever turning down a conversation, always going out and meeting with people and really finding out about their business. You find a lot of good ones out there, you know what I mean? But you have to be open to it. You can't just be closed to what else is out there, because a lot of times we drink the Kool-Aid. I was a part of, and that was a big Kool-Aid thing, right? Is you're a part of the culture. You don't look anywhere else. Like it's definitely something that restricted me. But once I opened myself up, it also, opened me up to more opportunities, and with different people and different things. So not everybody's going to take the same path as me. I'm not saying that people should do that necessarily, but it is good to know what's out there. So, but so to get on to the next thing here, it seems like from what you're saying, there is a type of a formula. Is there a formula for how fast you want to grow your company? Like, could you have too many sales guys coming on at once where you would outsell what you can handle type of deal? Or what does that look like?
Residentially, that would be possible. It would be possible. But I think that
good problem to have.
We just got a lot of commercial work coming up, and it takes a really long time to train installers in the field, especially on the AC side of things. So I think 4 at a time is the perfect number, 3 to 4 at a time. If they're doing 10 appointments a week and making 2 sales a week, 4 at a time is the best.
Okay. So you're saying like per crew, and then you can kind of scale your crews. And that's for residential side, not commercial, right? Okay.
Right. Because if you think about a brand new solar salesperson, I mean, brand new, like not a trained solar salesperson. But if we were to bring in a team of three maybe the right number, they will start producing contracts reliably in 3 months. And so you probably need 4 guys to every 1 good salesperson that's producing 2 contracts a week, because you want to be able to execute 2 contracts a week. 4.
Right.
So.
Okay, that's good to know. So On the, I'm not really necessarily an expert on the commercial side. I've never even done a commercial deal. I have friends that have, and I'm connected with a lot of different companies that do commercial. How would you suggest somebody that wants to dip their toe into commercial? How would they go about it
Do you mean sales or installation?
for the sales side? Like, say there's a guy that's good at the residential, and he's like, hey, I have some friends that own businesses. What would be something that you would recommend for him to learn?
Find out if the place that you want to sell commercial solar is eligible for USDA REAP using the USDA REAP eligibility map. That is the first thing I would do.
And what is that? What is the USDA REAP?
Rural Energy for America program. So almost all of West Virginia qualifies for USDA REAP, for which comes back in the form of a grant from USDA for 25% of the cost of the contract. So if you're going to sell commercial solar and you want to break into selling commercial solar, I would highly recommend learning to write USDA REAP grants, or finding and partnering with someone who does that on a consultancy basis. Because between the 25% USDA REAP grant and 26% ITC and macros, you can recover 75% of the system cost. And then the numbers really, really start to make sense.
Wow. So that's really the difference between the commercial side and the residential side, is those additional benefits to business.
Yeah, getting a really good understanding of the incentives is that's how I would start. If I wanted to just do commercial sales, I would get a really good grasp on the incentives.
Okay. And then like, you guys are able to bring on people. So like, say if somebody's watching this right now and they're like, hey, I really want to get into commercial, they could reach out to you and you could potentially set them up to be able to sell for your install company then?
Yes. So the way we do commercial proposals, though, is a little bit different. It's a little bit different. We can't just set a red line, So there would be a lot more back and forth work before the proposal would be actually finalized if it was coming from us. But the way that most commercial solar sales people do this is they focus on getting it to the point of letter of intent, with the letter of intent outlining, this is not including any utility required service upgrade, anything that requires us to analyze the electrical features on the site for a three-phase service, and the transformer sizing and the service capacity, those kinds of things. Those need to be excluded from the letter of intent, and it needs to say something like, if after a site survey, like, sign this letter of intent and maybe get like $1,000, and then you can justify having someone like us bring out an engineer, or one of us who can go look at the main panel and just determine if it can all be done within the scope that was proposed. And then the letter of intent should read something like, as long as it can be done within 10 to 15% of this price, then I'm going to move forward.
Okay, so do you go off of a total price, or do you go off like a price per watt, or how do you figure out that?
I'm saying that's what we do our own estimating. Like, all of the commercial cells that we sell is basically, I'm the forefront of that. So we're doing it with an electrical estimator, with like mechanical. We have a mechanical division, electrical division, the solar division. We're doing that as a contractor. But if someone else were to do it, that's how commercial salespeople who don't actually install the jobs, that's how I think that they get commercial cells to move forward.
Okay. Gotcha. So they may have a couple different bids on the table, but you still want to get your letter of intent for each one. Is that how it works? If you're going to create a proposal, essentially, right?
Yeah, you would want, if you wanted to be just a salesperson, you would put together a proposal with a price. You would outline what's included in the letter of intent. And then that would justify us putting time and money into it to
Right.
see if it's feasible. And then we go out and say, this is perfect. Like there's an open breaker and the transformer is perfect size. So let's just move forward at that price. But if it's not, then we have to determine if there's a change required.
Okay. Oh, that makes sense. So yeah, a lot different than what we're used to as residential guys.
Yeah, transformer upgrades are about $30,000,
Okay. So big.
but there are some loopholes. I've can sometimes get that covered. If you know
Okay.
the loopholes.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect. So you guys service mainly the East Coast. What are some things that you're looking to do over the next few years for growth? Are you guys planning on growing 10x, 20x? Like what's your goals here?
My goal or the goal for the company?
Well, I guess you can go with yours first and then you can tell me what the goal of the company is.
I want to expand, like I want to have branches of Revolt in Southwest Virginia, in Eastern Kentucky, and right here in Charleston. So we're in this region of the Appalachian coalfields, the traditional Appalachian coalfields region. And that's where I want to be residentially. And I want those to be successful branches of Revolt, run by our original leadership team that we have on staff right now. And I also want to large utility scale solar development inevitably comes to our mountaintop removal sites or abandoned mine lands. I want to be the chosen contractor for that. So I want to be a hybrid residential all the way to utility installer. I want Revolt Energy is actually positioned to be a utility. So when we start offering PPAs, we can develop, and a landowner could approach us and enter into agreement with us, and we could submit an interconnection application directly to the grid. So we can act as developers and the contractor. Although I don't think the PJM grid is taking any more applications right now. So I think what I would want is just to be a regional household name that's synonymous with solar in the Appalachian region.
Okay. That's awesome. And what's the business's goals? Like what are they looking to achieve?
You mean the business who bought us?
Yep.
Oh, well, profitability for sure. It helps. So I would love to. West Virginia is the only state that has ever abolished its own renewable portfolio standard. So it was passed in 2012 and abolished in 2015. I'd really like to see that reinstated. That's a huge personal goal of mine. If that were to happen, there are several different revenue streams that can be created for the shareholders of Energy Services of America, which is the company that bought us.
Okay. Oh, that's great. So you guys have like steps that you're trying to take in order to open up the market a little bit better. Is that what it seems like you're trying to do?
We have more demand than we can meet without even trying, without even having a state incentive. Okay. And it's because the price of electricity here, it's unbelievable.
How much is it?
Yes.
20 cents kilowatt hour.
No, that's not that high. But
17.
We're getting like 2 rate increases per year.
Okay.
It's at like 16 right now.
Okay. Yeah, I've sold in Massachusetts, which was when I was there 24 cents. I've sold in California, which was like 33 cents. And there's places in San Diego that's like 56 cents. So,
What?
mhm.
Okay, well, I think a lot of another contributing factor for the price or for the amount that people are paying for electricity in this region is maybe energy efficiency. They need some energy efficiency upgrades.
Okay. So ACs or like better, like do they use ACs
Better
right now?
insulation, things
Better
like that.
insulation. Okay. And do you have a lot of people that use like electric heat?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So that's probably a big part of their high bills is the winter.
Mhm. Yeah, heating and cooling, and then the load.
Okay. And you guys don't do any, do you guys do any sort of energy efficiencies or?
Not really. We don't. We recommend if we were to if I were to go to a home and say, we can give you all this solar, but you should really you could get some spray foam in your attic and we wouldn't have to give you as much solar and it's less expensive. We would say that, but we wouldn't do it because the managing of the projects, just like you said, um, you can't put too many variables and do this super tight and efficient.
Right. I've seen that in the industry as well. People trying to do everything at once.
Mhm.
Uh, do you have partners that you'd maybe like you'd recommend like, hey, these guys are good
Mhm.
and maybe we
Yeah,
can roll it into the solar loan as well. You can get tax credits on that, or is that against the rules or?
I don't want us to do that, but
Okay.
we would recommend like an HVAC company that does residential. We have an HVAC division, but it's only for commercial. So yeah, there are local HVAC companies we could recommend, um, like green energy analysts, building analysts, getting an energy audit. We can connect people to an auditor, so a professional can come and do even like an energy audit with a blower door test and things like that. But we don't facilitate it as part of our business model.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so you guys are growing and what like say if somebody's watching, how could somebody help you at this point stage in the business development? What's something that you're looking for from people that are tuning in?
Move to West Virginia and sell solar.
So either commercial or residential, you'd take both.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And are you okay with those guys that like to do, maybe they live in Utah and they don't want to move, they want to do sales over the phone? Do you ever do anything like that? Would you be willing to provide leads of people that could close?
I just went through an experience where I had 18 remote that I was managing. I was managing, answering questions, specific questions like, what's the adder on this? And it's like two arrays on two separate structures. And that's all the information I have, but I have no way of knowing how long is the trench? What is the size of the service on one of the buildings? Is there a sub panel in the garage? Do I have to go through concrete? All these factors, you just can't put a red line on.
So,
Um,
so are,
I mean, if I had a team of people who could, then yes, but me as an individual, I can't accommodate that much. Plus, it's really hard to sell remotely in West Virginia.
just because you're not in front of them?
Right. And the trust thing, like I was saying.
Okay. So you would have to have somebody that would actually be willing to be in person for the most part. That's kind of
Yeah.
what you would prefer.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what we're really lacking in. If you can imagine running the construction side and selling residential solar, it's been really difficult. But Lexington, Kentucky, I would take that. Southwest Virginia. Um, Good place right now. but we've always been weak in sales.
Okay. Well, yeah,
Kind of
that's
intentionally though, because I want to leave the expert things to experts.
right.
Like we're good at execution.
So if you have some guys that are like, hey, I want to go try selling in this market, they could hit you up and say, hey, we're going to do a blitz and we're going to be there in person. That's something
Yes,
I'm
yeah,
open to.
yes.
Okay.
I mean, there are so many like really great prime subdivisions, and even just within 20 miles of my office.
Okay.
But I don't have the capacity to go out. So yeah,
Right.
that would be great.
Okay, perfect. Well, yeah, those of you that are watching, hit us up. You can hit her up as well directly. And how would they go about contacting you besides like Facebook?
You can do info@revolt-energy.com or go to our website. There should be a chat box that will link you up with Carrie, who can get something scheduled.
Okay, perfect. And is there anything else that you want to talk about? Is there anything that we missed that you feel like is important that we didn't go over?
Now, I'm going to SolarCon later this month. I think a lot of us are really looking forward to it, but I just really appreciate you having me on the show and making the connections.
Yeah, not a problem. Hopefully we can get you on again. Things change over time, so I always like to have people that will come back on and let us know what's happening in their life. And those that follow you and want to hear more from you, obviously will tune in and we can do more masterminding. And also, I don't know if you probably haven't seen any of the episodes yet because you're not in the. I'm actually going to get you in the group here next, but the main focus of the group is from the book Napoleon Hill wrote, Think and Grow Rich, and then also Outwitting the Devil. Have you read that one, Outwitting the Devil?
No.
Okay, so definitely recommend it if you haven't read it already. If you have you read Think and Grow Rich?
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Both of those are really good. But so the mastermind idea is high tide rises all ships, and that's kind of like our
Yes. I've said that so many times throughout my career in solar. I have.
yeah. So
Rising tides float all boats, or that's
yeah,
how I say. Yes.
same idea. So it's like we all have our own experiences, and we also think of abundance. Like there's more than enough for all of us out there. There's only so many
Right.
solar sales guys that will even go out there and talk to people. So the more we can work together and help each other, it's going to be better for the entire industry. And there is a right way and a wrong way. You want to do business with integrity where everybody's winning and you're not taking advantage of people. So that's one of the main focuses that we have. And then GKM is gratitude, knowledge, motivation. So that's what the acronym is.
Oh. Well, I'm so happy to be a part of this, and I look forward to joining the group.
Yeah, awesome. I appreciate you taking the time. It was nice to meet you and talk with you.
Thanks, Glenn. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.